be a downer, but I grew up in a fairly violent household, and my great escape was I would take my guitar and walk to the bush, light a little campfire, and just sit there all day and write songs.
First things first, because there's so much to talk to you about. The new song, Waking Up Dreaming. So, how did it come about? And, you know, how long has it been in the works for you?
Waking Up Dreaming has been an idea that I've had around for a little while. I'm a real daydreamer. You know, in all of my childhood school notes, I was always, you know, the teacher I was always like gazing out the window, daydreaming. So it just sort of worked its way into a song eventually. I mean, you know, recently. And, you know, I love to dream. And I thought dreaming is always more fun when you're awake and you can kind of guide the direction of the dream.
Well, it's very now as well. You know, I love the song. But, you know, there's a bit of a lesson for everybody listening or watching this. You know, the way sometimes teachers or parents will say to their kids, for goodness sake, will you stop dreaming? You know, come on. You're actually a perfect example of, you know, turning a dreaming lifestyle into a huge success. So it's not always a bad thing, isn't it? Is it when your child's doing that?
Oh, dreaming it's kind of a meditative thing for me, dreaming. It's a great escapism. And dreaming is a real creative thing because you're dreaming. I mean, these are things that you're only imagining realizing. You don't need to realize all of your dreams. But if we only dreamt about things that were always possible, they wouldn't be dreams. You know, you can't realize all of your dreams. So I just like to escape into the dreaming mode. And obviously songwriting is very much a dreaming state of mind. A lot of the time you're using your imagination. I guess dreaming and using your imagination are in the same realm of thinking and wandering off into idea land.
And I guess you've got no boundaries either. You can just do as you wish. But I've got to ask you, obviously we've got a new song from you. So the next question is a new album or more new music from you?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
There's a whole album to follow. So I'm very excited about that. And, you know, the video for Waking Up Dreaming is, again, just going back a little bit on that, this was like a moment for me to just be really almost ridiculous about my styling and have a lot of fun into stepping into different personas. Much of the album is very much not necessarily visually that way, but a lot of it is very dreamy and very, it's in a very positive, place in my imagination. It lies in that very positive place. So, it's a good representation of the rest of the music that's to come.
Well, that's kind of like whet our appetite a little bit for that's for sure. I'm going to ask you as well, because the fans are going to want to know here in the UK, the new song, then the new album. Will there be a tour? Will you be coming this way?
I'm still planning the tour, so no announcements yet. Yeah. It's been a difficult time getting back out of COVID into the bottleneck of touring and just even trying to find the right moment for it. So we're still in the planning stages of that. But
you know, that sounds promising enough. So we'll wait to hear from you.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Now, another thing, because you've had so many things going on recently, clearly there's the Not Just a Girl documentary as well that I watched and everybody else seems to watch too and really enjoyed. It's just been nominated for an award as well, hasn't it?
I'm so excited. I mean, how wonderful is that? It's flattering, obviously, and a little bit of a surprise because I've just never been nominated for anything like that before. So it was just a very refreshing surprise.
Was it a kind of a process for you? Because clearly you had to go back to the beginning again and analyze the old footage, and it took you right back to the start, and maybe looking at the old clippings and the papers and news. So it really, how do you feel when you've come through that now? Because clearly, you know, that not everyone gets an opportunity to do that, relook at their lives all over again.
Exactly. I mean, this is a very focused review of my life in the sense that it's all about the music. it doesn't touch too much on my personal life. It is really, I wanted it to be focused on the elements of my life, or the elements of my life that were related to my career. And it was really fun. Now at my age, 57, I'm looking back at when I was 7, and going, wow, this is, because when you're a kid, you're not really realizing even the potential of where your talent will take you, or what the possibilities even are. So now looking back, I had a lot of fun reflecting on my child self and what I was thinking at the moment. And it was amazing how I'd actually recalled the way I felt in moments.
Sure.
And it was great. It was really great to connect all the dots and to feel the sense of achievement from, where I began to where I am now. It was really unbelievable and rewarding. It was like, wow, I really came a long way. It was satisfying to see it, to watch it myself.
One thing that came through, though, very loud and clear for me watching was you weren't going to be messed around, right? You weren't going to be, listen, you're going to wear this, or you're going to look like that. Or, I mean, that was, and you were ahead of the game to a huge extent, weren't you? Because especially for women in the industry, there was, I would have imagined then there was a lot of control, and, you're going to dance to our tune, and you said no. And that was, groundbreaking back then.
I think a lot of that is attributed to the fact that I was already 30 when I had my first hit. So I was in my late 20s already when I was in that real, first videos, my first recording contract. And I was, I had the maturity to have genuine conviction behind how I was seeing things, because I'd already been in the industry for so long. I had a lot of experience as far as what I saw for myself. There was no guessing around, no time to mess around, because I was, I literally didn't have the time to mess around. And again, I had the maturity to demand certain respect that is more difficult to demand when you're 20 or you're a teenager. So I think a lot of it was that. And then it was also very do or die for me. I didn't have parents anymore. They died when I was younger. So there was nothing to go back to. I had no money. I'd already decided that music was my life. So I didn't go to college. I mean, it was a do or die. So that sort of, not tunnel vision, but that focus was out of determination, sheer determination.
That's definitely something that's come across before, because, we get very privileged. I get to speak to people like you, Shania, and almost not having that plan B, or not, there's nothing else here. It's got to work. So like you say, that worked for you. Absolutely.
And I really didn't have a backup plan, because I'd spent, after my parents died, I'd spent several years keeping my family together and, trying to make a living just feeding my teenage siblings. So I didn't get back to pursuing a recording career, like I said, until later in my 20s. And now I'm like, okay, there's no more time to waste. I cannot fool around. There is, this is a no joke, no play scenario. And it's got to work. Like you said, it just had to work.
And it did. So that's that's fantastic.
And I had to work. I had to work my butt off. That applied to me as well. It didn't apply just to my attitude. It applied, as far as what I demanded or expected or directed to happen. It was my own work ethic. And I pretty much worked myself to the bone to make it happen. And even if you do get a hit, you don't know if you're going to be a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sure that anybody with one hit in their entire career planned on just having one hit. I'm sure they planned on having many hits. I don't think that the plan there is no real plan. I mean, your own conviction and your own work ethic is probably a very strong and recommended base to have.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, why not? I think it's just good. But there is no paved road. I think it's every individual artist. The road kind of displays itself or lays itself out as you go.
I wanted to ask you, though, about Come On Over. It's celebrating a big anniversary very soon, 25th. And with so many hit songs on there, it kind of goes back on what you just said a moment ago by saying you never know what's going to happen. If you have one hit, will you have a second? But I wanted to ask you, as someone, an artist like you, who's had an albums like that just have hit after hit after hit, when you're recording them, do you know then that they're special? Because that was you've had some incredibly special albums, haven't you?
I know when a song resonates with me and when I'm really moved or loving it, whether it's the melody or the story or if I'm writing lyrics and they make me laugh, for example, then I know if it triggers me, then I can often that's my only guide, really, to be honest. Sure. If I'm triggered and I'm feeling just moved by it and whatever the emotion is, then I do try. My intentions are always to try to connect with as many people as possible. I can always write very obscure. I could write obscure music all day long, and I love obscure music. It's really self-serving, but when I write music to record, to release, at least up to now, I'm doing it for the purpose of relating to as many people as possible. And so it's a challenge and a skill in itself. And I like that challenge. And so far I've had some luck with it, but you just never really know.
I spotted a photograph on your social media the other day, and I think you were sitting in a garden with a dog on your lap, and you were saying about a reflective moment, and I thought, that is just, everyone should take a look at that photograph, because that's you just almost Zen-like.
Pets, animals, nature, water, trees, my roses, they're all things that really ground me and make me feel rooted, oh yeah, I'm just looking at this photo now. I know what you're talking about. I just love those moments when I'm hanging out with my dogs and looking out at a view and enjoying the simple things. I think it's all about the simple things. I guess that's really what it comes down to. The simple things really allow me to dream, going back to that dreaming, and just my imagination starts to fly away and wander off into great places.
Well, I think a load of people, possibly ones who wouldn't have done it before, since the pandemic and all the disruption, have realized that sometimes you need to just step away, get some, countryside walk, or go to the beach, or, just take it in, because you never know what's going to be happening next.
You have to do it as much as possible. You really, really, really do. And I think I learned to appreciate that sort of solitude of just being alone with nature or animals. From when I was a very small child, I grew up in not to be a downer, but I grew up in a fairly violent household. And my great escape was I would take my guitar and walk to the bush, light a little campfire, and just sit there all day and write songs. From a very young age, I did that. From 10 years old, I did that. And this was a great escape. I would really take my entire self to another planet almost. And I still need that today, whatever's going on. It doesn't have to be a crisis, but it's just my go-to meditation, I guess, just nature and animals.
Couple of things that I wanted to just run past you. We're running a Smooth Country Icons chart, and you have had thousands of votes. I mean, of course, that's what I would have expected, but that's what's happened this time. So have you any little message for, your fans in the UK, or the ones who would have taken the trouble to vote for you?
Oh, I would just say thank you. I mean, how fabulous is that? It was always my goal in life to be an international artist. You know, starting out in Canada, I had never seen any other part of the world, any of my youth. I was an adult before I ever went across the border, and that was just to the US. So my dreams, again, you know, I was always dreaming about, I wonder what it's like, you know, on the other side of the pond or anywhere on the other side of the globe. And so to now know that I have people voting or even thinking of me or listening to my music or being a fan in the UK is really, that never gets old.
Great.
It's always beautiful. Yeah.
You're so recognizable. You know, you've had so much success. So away from the show business thing, can you, and this might sound like a really stupid, naive question, but I came into my head. Can you go and do ordinary things? Like, can you go down to the shopping mall, or can you just stroll around with your dog? Or is that possible for you?
I think it's possible for anyone, you know, as a celebrity. I've always refused to be more isolated than necessary. I mean, obviously, if I'm on tour and I'm in a city where I'm very exposed, whether it's for promotion or whatever's going on, then it is more difficult. But that's logical, right? Yeah. But in an everyday scenario, I just put on a cap and no makeup. I do whatever I can to make myself unrecognizable.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised. You just blend in. And I've managed to do that my whole career. And I enjoy those moments when I can forget who I am. I really love that. I cherish it.
Do you know, it's funny, if there were people listening and watching this right now, and they might be going, do you remember that time we were in that city and that woman looked like Shania Twain with the baseball cap on? And yeah. It was probably her now, you know, so. And
that does happen. I mean, some people do work it out, and they always say it's usually my smile or my voice.
Well, listen, look after yourself, and I look forward to finding out all the other plans that you've got that are going to emerge over the next few months or so.
Thank you very much. It was really, really lovely. Thank you.